clerk will read temporary legislation 10,876, please.
An ordinance confirming the appointment of Nicholas Gamellia to the position of firefighter paramedic in the fire department and declaring an emergency.
I, Nicholas Gamellia, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge the duties of firefighter paramedic in the Avon Lake Fire Department from May 8, 2017, and thereafter during my continuance in said office. Congratulations.
The public is welcome to attend the 5th Annual Business Expo at Springer Senior Facility at 500 Community Drive in Town Center, in the middle of Avon Lake, of course. The event will be on Thursday, April 27th. After a networking session, the event is open to the public from 3 o'clock to 5:30 p.m. We have over 45 vendors sharing information about their businesses, and Springer Healthcare System once again is providing a generous table of snacks for all those who attend.
Also, as president of the Avon Lake Community Council, I just wanted to note these will be in the various newspapers over the next week. The Citizens of the Year, the council this year, we had about 17 different representatives from various organizations that are under us, and basically they appointed Jean Sekulik as Citizen of the Year in Avon Lake. You guys know Jean, the Avon Lake Cable Television. She's been on the Tree Commission since 2002. She was with Jan Van Wagner with the City Government 101 and the City Happenings. And Jean's done a number of work besides being on the Tree Commission with voter registration and assisting a voter location manager when there are elections. There's a number of other things that she's done, and I just want to congratulate her on that. The other person that was named Citizen of the Year was Sherry Spencer, who is part of the Heritage Avon Lake and certainly did a lot of work for the Folger House. She's done tours of the Avon Lake Cemetery. She also wrote a book called Socialites and Scofflaws about Avon Lake. So she has a lot of history in Avon Lake and has a long history of voluntary service besides her church with the city as well, on dealing with community luncheons and such. So these two individuals will be honored at a dinner with the Kiwanis on May the 18th, and that will be at 6 o'clock at the Avon Lake Library. If you need reservations, contact me at 933-7310 for dinner reservations. Additional to that, the project of the year came out to be Avon Lake Library's Children's Garden, sponsored by Mary Crehor, the director of the Avon Lake Library. This was an issue that helped get the funding. And then there was other key players. It was really a collaborative community event. Dale Caracas, the Avon Lake Community Garden, what Dale was connected with it. An Eagle Scout was involved in it, Scout Troop 334. Jeff Amy was involved with it. The Avon Lake Garden Club was involved with it. The City Parks and Recreation Department, BGAP, and certainly the children that were involved in this. So this will also be an honor going to the project of the year to the Avon Lake Library's Children's Garden, sponsored by the Avon Lake Public Library. And I want to thank all the groups that put this thing together. It was certainly a good example of the community all working together with the expertise in those areas. So again, I want to congratulate the Avon Lake Library and its director.
Miller Road Park boat launch. We had completed the sand dredging and opened up the park and the boat launch last week. So please come down and start enjoying the lake.
The Public Utilities, Mr. Koss.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Council President. At the last council meeting, I mentioned the introduction at the state legislature, specifically in the Senate, of Senate Bill 128, and I mentioned that I had contacted our state representative Manning and our state senator Manning as well too. Regarding this bill. Because it was introduced in the Senate, I just want to touch on Senator Gail Manning's reply to me regarding Senate Bill 128, which in my email to her, I stated that this bill essentially is using tax dollars to subsidize First Energy's nuclear power plants, to include Avon Lake tax dollars. And she did reply that the final product of these bills are often much different than when they're introduced. And she does want to hear from constituents, but as she has not seen the bill in its entirety or in a final form, but she does welcome the continued conversation, dialogue regarding this, and I think that that's a fair response to the state senator. And Mr. Mayor, you had mentioned that you would be speaking with her at the Business Expo regarding the one item. If you can put this bug in her ear as well, too, that would be great as well.
An ordinance approving the general development plan for Krebs Road PUD and declaring an emergency.
Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you. This is the third reading, and as you all know, it has come out of the Planning Commission. This is something that has had a lot of discussion with the neighbors and back and forth through zoning and planning, and it is approving the general development plan for the Krebs Road PUD. We're asking for it to be voted with a declaration of emergency so that if passed, they can immediately get into the build of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Further discussion, Mr. Busey.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank Mr. Wrights and the police chief and the mayor for working with the neighbors, Mrs. Fenderbosh as well, both in the Hunt Club and along Parkside, and look forward to continuing those discussions with respect to the impacts on traffic to both neighborhoods as this development continues, and I will play any role that I can between the City Hall and the neighbors to help make that a smooth process. Thank you.
Let's adopt the roll, please.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Yes.
Mr. James?
No.
Mr. Koss?
Yes.
Mr. Minor?
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Shondel?
Yes.
Mr. Busey?
Yes.
An ordinance providing for the appointment of Terry Sabatka as Electrical Safety Inspector, establishing the rate of compensation for said position and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Shondel.
This legislation confirms the appointment of Terry Sabatka as an electrical safety inspector in the building department and an annual salary of $65,000 payable biweekly effective tomorrow, April 25th, 2017. He is entitled to all benefits provided to full-time, non-bargain for employees and is entitled to 2 weeks of prorated vacation in 2017.
A resolution submitting the question of a renewal of a tax levy for the purpose of providing ambulance and EMS services to the city of Avon Lake pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.19I and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Miners.
Thank you, sir. This is the first reading, and I'm going to have the finance director explain this, please.
Mr. Presley.
Thank you. This is, as Mr. Miners indicated, this is step one of putting the renewal on the ballot in November. It has the language which is identical to what has previously been submitted to the electorate. It needs to stay consistent with that, otherwise it would not be considered a renewal and therefore would be subject to the new state laws, which would in fact eliminate the homestead exemption and the rollback, and would mean a 12.5% increase cost to the residents without any additional realization of increased money to the city. So the language is identical to what you've passed previously. It is a renewal. There is no increase in the taxes to be collected. And the 2 mills is a rate that's stated, but the actual rate or the actual millage, I believe in the email that we received, was approximately 1.85 mills.
Announcements, Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Yes. A number of council people, plus the mayor and the police chief, have been notified that somebody is stealing signs. They've been stealing signs from the Business Expo. They've been stealing signs from Sail on the Lake. And this Saturday, over 20 signs were put up from Love a Dog regarding their Fur Fun Dog Walk, Sunday, April the 30th. They were put up Saturday. 17 signs were taken by Sunday. And somebody's got to have had to seen what was going on. I mean, if you see something, report it. But I'm saying this because I'd like the newspapers to pick up and help us, that if you would like to participate in the Love a Stray fundraiser, it's at the high school on Sunday, April the 30th. Registration opens at 10 o'clock in the morning. You can have a group walk for the dogs that begins at 11 for 1, 2, or 3 miles. And the first 100 registrations that show up for the dog walk will receive an awesome pack filled with all kinds of goodies. Typically, there are hundreds of people that participate in this event, and it's just too bad that somebody is spoiling this. Thank you.
Thank you for that announcement, Mayor.
Thank you. With regard to the signs, they apparently are disappearing during the day. This is a very different situation, so it doesn't seem to fall in line with a prank happening. Now, we did have the week off, so maybe that might have had something to do with it, but the Economic Development Director, Ted Esborn, put a second wave of signs out, and many of those were stolen too. And we just can't sit there and watch the signs. We have a few left, and hopefully we'll have enough to get us to Thursday. But it is very frustrating. Apparently someone's stealing the wickets or something. I don't know what value would have to anyone else. And same thing for the sale on the lake, which is on the 29th, I believe, Saturday.